So welcome to today's class. Hope we'll be doing our assignments. For those of us that have not been able to send in our assignments, please try to send it in. You can put it on the group. We will look at it. The first few people to send in their assignment, like I always say, I will be able to make quick corrections and all of that. Let's try not to send it privately. That way other people can learn from your corrections. Now, we have talked about marketing for about 3 weeks now, back to back. Now, the normal transition is for us to move from marketing to sales. Now, remember what we said in the class, that the essence of marketing, or not the essence now, how you judge marketing that is done right, we do not judge marketing from the sales made. Rather, we judge marketing from whether or not customers remember you. So, for example, if I say, mention the networks that we have in Nigeria, there is a high probability that your answers will most likely contain these three: MTN, Glo, and Airtel. Now, the reason is they have done proper marketing. So, what marketing is all about is people remember you when they want to make decisions. People remember you when they look at their options, or when they need to refer, or when they need to make reference. That is the goal of marketing, that you are remembered, that you are considered. Now, in sales, the essence of sales is exchange of money for value. Now, in our bridge class today, we want to look at the term money. We want to look at the term money. Now, for those of us that attended our physical work and learn class, I know I took about an hour or two to look at the principles that govern money broadly. We looked at the 5 or 6 principles that governs how not to use money or how not to treat money. Then we also took time to look at the principles that governs wealth creation. But today I want us to look at money from an economic perspective. Now, this class might be longer than our normal video. I'll be checking my time. If for any reason I notice the class is getting long, I may cut it and put them in sections so that we are able to understand this. Because if we do not understand what money really is from the economic perspective now, this is not just the principles now, but the economic perspective, it will be hard for us to actually create sustainable wealth. It will be hard for us to create sustainable wealth. And the reason why very few percentage of the population is wealthy or is rich is because they understand what money is. They understand what money is. Now, before we look at money as the economic tool, it's important that we understand first how money is created. The creation / purpose. How money is created. How is money created? How did money come to be? Because somebody said something, they say, when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. Same way, if we do not understand the purpose of money, it is easy for us as individuals, as businessmen, to abuse money. Now, in trying to understand the purpose of money, we need to understand what are the rules that guide the creation of money. What are the rules that guide how money is created? Now, generally speaking, there are 3 sets of people that are allowed to create money legally. The first person that creates money legally is the government. Now I'm going to try and talk as slowly as I can, but if peradventure you miss any part, feel free to pause, rewind. That's the advantage of it being online. Take your time and listen to it again. Now, the first person that is allowed to create money is the government. That is why in every country in the world, they have something called the central bank. Now, the central bank of a nation is the one that is given, what's the word now? Given the burden of creating money. Now, all the monies that are created worldwide are connected to the central bank royal print. The central bank royal, that's a print, sorry, royal mint in the USA. Now, this is where all monies or most monies are printed. Now, again, because I know some of us may download these videos and you may share these videos, I may not use Nigeria as a country to explain most of the points, but I am sure you can infer. Now, for you to print money, for example, it's printing. It's like printing a document. You will need to pay to print that document. That, I'm sure that makes sense. Now, for us to print a $10 bill, for us to print a $10 bill in the US, it costs the government 3 cents to print a $10 bill. Meaning, every time the government prints a $10 bill, the government in essence is making a profit of $9.07. I'll take that again. For us to print money, you spend money. So it's not like because I want to print money, I just go there and I don't pay for anything. You pay for the printing of money. Now, using dollars as an example, to print your $10 bill, it costs you 3 cents. Now, if I pay 3 cents to get something worth $10, it only makes sense to say that I have made a profit of $9.07. Now, we know that money generally worldwide comes in 2 forms. They are either in the form of paper or in the form of coins. Now, looking at this method of printing, as this method of creating money with government, most developed nations, their total paper or coin-based money in circulation is about 3%. The maximum in any nation is about 8%. I want us to get this clear because you want to do business in agric. The total money that government can create through printed money is between 3 and 8%. Interpretation. When you hear somebody like the Dangotes, the Bill Gates says they are worth XY billions of dollars, it cannot be the printed money. Because if it is the printed money, to total money in the world, the amount that is printed is just about 8%. And this is permitted by the government of the nation. Now, the question then is, why is it that government prints money? Why do we print money? Now, the reason why government prints money, number one, is to fulfill its obligation to the private banks. Because these private banks have a duty to play to the common man. Take for instance, I want to go to the ATM to go and withdraw money. 10 naira, 100 naira, 10,000 naira. For me to see that money to withdraw from the private bank, government should have printed some currencies available in the economy that people can pick up from their banks. Now, excuse me, this $9.7 that is made is what we refer to as the tax revenue of the government, meaning the money that the government itself is able to generate by printing new cash. So, the question that would come up then would be, if government can just print money, Why is government not printing all the money so that everybody would have access to money? Because this is 3 cents to get $10. We can just keep printing money, and
we'll be getting money.
We'll be getting money, everybody will be rich. Now, there are 2 major reasons why that cannot happen. Number 1, politicians. Because if we print money so much, it simply means that every politician can fulfill their every promise without having to think through how to generate money. So I have promised you 10 billion naira, I have promised you road, this, I will just go to CBN, print money for us. Let's fulfill this contract. And what that would also mean is there will now be clash of interest a lot that will result in wars. Number 2, because there is so much money in circulation, the value of the money will drop.
That's different.
Inflation. So having too much money in circulation will reduce the value of that money. I know somebody online is thinking, how can this happen? How can too much money cause devaluation? Think about it. When you just collect your salary, have you noticed that it is easy for you to spend 15 naira without thinking twice?
Yes.
But when you don't have enough money remaining in your pocket, that 15 naira is planned for. Now, imagine right now you have 100 million in your account.
It's true, sure.
And somebody says, come and buy this pure water. How much is pure water? 2,000 naira for pure water. Like, no problem. Take. Now, having too much money in circulation would automatically mean that the value of things, the value of the money will drop. A perfect example, again, I said I'm not using Nigeria as an example. A perfect example right now is Venezuela. Because the government printed so much money in the name of trying to help the economy to run, now you see people selling bags on the streets, and the bags are made of money. So imagine I take my Naira notes and I join them together, use lamination to laminate the Naira note to make the handle of a bag I am selling. That is how much their money has lost relevance. So, more money, like I said, in circulation will lead to inflation because it will lose its value. So, it's important that we understand money is measured in value. Take note of that because we are still, after this we are going to sales. So, money is measured in value. How much your money is worth is based on what value can I exchange it for. What value can this thing give to me? I'll give you an example. I remember, I'm sure for some of us that are older, you would remember there was a time it was okay to carry 5 naira and go to the market. I'm not sure when last I saw 5 naira notes. I don't think, does it still exist?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I don't know when last I saw 5 naira notes.
Last week.
Is that still 5 naira or 10 naira?
5 naira. They gave me 2 5 naira.
I don't know when last I saw it. Now, think about it. There was a time that it was okay to use 5 naira to buy biscuits.
Yes.
I don't think there is any biscuit that is worth 5 naira. Pure water is no more 5 naira. I think it's 10 naira. And some people taking it to 20 naira. So, money is measured in value. Now, this is the point. Because 5 naira cannot give me pure water, it means that my evaluation of 5 naira will drop. I hope that makes sense. Now, I have talked about this. Before we go to number 2, for those of us that are a bit versed in economics and you want to get the economic terms. Now, I said that for us to print $10, it cost me 3 cents. And that means I am making a profit in quote of $9.07. So, this is like a government debt. But we'll come back here and discuss this. So, we go to number 2. The second way that we create money. The second way that we create money. Don't worry, we'll tie it all up to why we do our Greek. Or why you should do our Greek. The second way that we create money is through private banks. Private banks also have the ability to create money. Private banks also have the ability to create money. As a matter of fact, over 90% of the money that we have in the world is created by private banks. Now, if we are able to understand this point, we will be able to understand why banks ran bankrupt. So, over 90% of the monies that we have available is created by private banks. Now, how is a bank able to do this? Banks do this by creating something we call debt. Now, let me explain what that means. I am sure that for a lot of us, okay, not a lot of us, for some of us, we've ever been to a bank before to say, I want to collect loan, or I want to borrow money. When you go to the bank and say, bank, I want to collect a loan of, say, 10 million naira. What the bank will do, let's say the person collecting the loan is Samson. Now, what the bank will simply do is, once they approve my bank loan and all of that, I will just get pem alert. 10 million naira has entered my account. Now, this is the reality. The bank did not transfer cash into my account. No. The bank only created a digital currency into my account. What they have given to me is something in the olden days we call a promissory note in quotes. Now, if I now say, I need to pay for something, I need to go and pay for a farm. So I want to transfer 5 million to Lagbaja. I need to transfer 5 million to Lagbaja. All the bank needs to do is credit the account of Lagbaja by saying that they have taken away 5 million from my money. But in reality, what they simply do is create another debt of 5 million here and say they remove 5 million from my account. And it sounds weird. So, all the bank is doing with debt is they are creating money. Now, when this money is created and it enters my account, I have to agree on that I am going to pay profits. Now, this is the beauty of money. The profit that I am going to pay is real cash. The money they gave me was digital. So that at the end, when I come back to pay up all the money that I collected, this 10 million naira debt that the money that the bank created is paid for, is out. The loan has been paid. The profit is real money. Interpretation, that is why you realize that in economies where the banks are able to do what they call cashless economy, where they are able to give loans very easily, you will notice that the people in that nation, people at the middle and lower level, they are always in debt until death. Because every time they come out of debt, they need to take another loan to go back and continue their life. I hope that makes sense. So, now, this thing that I explained in accounting, they call it the double accounting system in banking sector. So, I want us to get this thing clear. In bank or in money, debt equals money as far as banks are concerned. Debt equals money. Now, the debt to the lender is an asset. So, when we look at debt, for the bank, it is an asset. Because it is an asset that keeps giving them money. But for the borrower, it is a liability. Because it keeps taking money away from whomever it is that borrowed the money. Now, another thing again is something we call loan, which is the same thing as debt. So I'll just jump to the next one, which is deposits. Deposits, still under private banks. Because I know that a whole lot of us, we have been taught that you should deposit your money in the bank and you make more money, just deposit. Because we need to understand how money is made. Already 20 minutes in. Deposit. Now, if I go to the bank to go deposit my money, let's represent bank with that. Once you deposit your money in the bank, legally speaking, according to the law of every nation, once I deposit my money in the bank, legally speaking, that money now belongs to the bank. I'm the one that deposited the money. The money now belongs to the bank. That is why, because somebody is thinking, how will my money belong to the bank when I deposited it? That is why the bank can use your money to do whatever they want to do without asking for your permission. If they want to give it out to borrow people, they borrow. If they want to use it in real estate, they use it. They want to use it in FX, they use it. Because technically that money now belongs to them. But you see, banks are wise. When your money comes to them before 2018 or so, or 2020, when your money comes to them, the law says that they should keep 10% in reserve. Then they can borrow out 90% or use 90% for whatever they want to do. So this is what it means. Let me explain why this is beautiful. I borrowed, or I went to deposit 10,000 will be too hard for me to explain. 1,000 naira in the bank. Now, 10% of 1,000 naira is 100 naira in reserve. Now, customer A came and said, I need loan. How much loan do you have? 1,000 naira. The bank will give them a debt by saying, we know we have 1,000 naira in account. Now, if they give this man 1,000 naira debt, remember, they have the power to create money. Customer B will come, I need 1,000, they will give another 1,000. Because since they have the power to hold back 10%, what this says legally is they can give up to 10 people because of your 1,000 naira or 1,000 each. So at the end, they can theoretically from your 1,000 borrow out 10,000. Because they will say for every 1,000 we give out, that is 10% in reserve. Now, by the time these poor people come to pay, remember they are going to pay back with profits. As they come back to pay back with profit, the bank is richer. The man that deposited 1,000 naira, if they like you too much, maybe they will add 5 naira as your profit margin for keeping money with them. We're good, right? We're good. Now, when you deposit your money, your deposit is just for a bank, is a bank record of their liability to the public. That is just what it's about. That now in the year 2020, I want to get the date right. By March 26, 2020, a new law was brought out worldwide that banks now are allowed to have 0% reserve. So at 0% reserve, they can use this 1,000 and give to 100 people. Instead of when it was 10% reserve, that they can only give 1,000 to 10 people. Then that makes any sense. So I kind of made this a live class so that people can ask questions that I feel you might have. Ask your questions.
At 10%, you said they can give out 1,000 naira.
So at 10%, this is what it means. If I came to deposit 1,000 naira in the bank,
yes,
the law then said that they must have 10% reserve. 10% of 1,000 is 100 naira.
Yes.
So it means that my 1,000 naira can be broken into 10 places.
Yes.
Abi?
Yes.
So the bank theoretically can loan out 10,000 naira because of your 1,000 deposit. So the reason why banks are after your deposit is your deposit determines how much they can loan out. Did you understand?
But they will be left with 900 naira.
No. Okay, you did not get the first part of the class. They are not loaning out cash. They have the power to create money and loan out. They are not loaning out 900 naira. So let me give you an example. When we pay salary, do I give you cash? The money entered your account, Abi. That money that entered your account, it's not that they transferred cash into your account. It's a digital currency. They just said, you Pepsi, you have lost, this money is out of your account. This money has entered your account, full stop. There is no cash. Do you understand?
Yes.
So, when the bank received your 1,000 naira as deposit, they have the right now to give out, to save. So, the law said before 2020, they are meant to hold back 10%. So, if you look at the meaning of that 10%, it is 100 naira. That's why I'm using 1,000, so it's easy in my head. Now, if you look at 10% broken down, it means that I can run this process 10 times. So, for the 1,000 naira deposit, I can give out 1,000 naira in 10 places, which is 10,000 naira maximum. If you deposited 10,000, then 10,000 in 10 places, is it 10 places? I don't know if my math is correct, that's why I wanted to use on 1,000. In 10 places is the maximum they can loan out. Because, you see, you are looking at it from the perspective of, if it is loan, they give me cash. No. For major loans, they send it into your account. It's a digital currency. Now, for the purpose of those that need cash, that is why in number one, government has to print cash. So they created the digital currency, but government gives you the cash that you need. Is it confusing? Any other question? Don't worry, we'll come to why you can't open your bank. Because people online are thinking, so I can go and open bank and just be creating money. There are rules to these things. So for those online, what we are trying to say is, every time you deposit money or you see an alert, your money did not move. This is the point I want us to get. It is just the record that changed.
Exactly.
It's not your money that moved. It's like when you say you are now born again and you are doing change of name. Okay, you say you are married as a woman and you are changing your name from your father's name to your husband's name. It is not that you as a person changed. It's just the records that changed. So instead of saying Modupe Sholanke, it now becomes Mrs. Modupe Shuberu. So it's just the records that changed.
Oh God.
Mrs. Shuberu. Don't forget it too. Mrs. Shuberu. So, then there's any question? So, having understood that, so okay, somebody may be thinking, why then is the government allowing private banks do this? Abi? Because you create debt, the government is saddled with coming to ensure people have the cash to run this thing. Now, this is why. So imagine that all of these guys were told to pay, within Nigeria is about 18 to 20% profit for loan, but interest rate. But imagine they were told to pay 10% of their 1,000. That would be 100 naira. Abi? So theoretically, from the digital money created in quotes, this bank is able to generate 1,000 naira in profits. Abi? By generating 1,000 naira in profit, government can tax this money to make money. So that balances anything. Government now can tax this money to make money. Aside taxing, if all these guys use their money for business and all of that, they can also be taxed to make money. If these guys are into trading and export, they would also make profit from all of that process. Don't worry, we'll tie everything up in our Greek. We'll still come back. Now, the third way that we create money. So remember we said that the first method of creating money is government money. Government have the power to print money, 3 to 7%. Banks have the highest power, which is about 90%. So the third way that money is made is through central banks. Central banks also have the power to make money, to create money. So somebody is thinking, but when I said government makes money, maybe government makes money through the printing of central bank. Yes, that is government giving an order to central bank. But in the third level, central bank as a body can also make money. Or use the word make, create money. Now, their method of creating money is called quantitative easing, QE. So at times when you hear economists and all of these guys talk, you hear them say, so the money was created using QE. So what they are saying is the central bank has created its own money. Now, the issue with the central bank creating money is their QE is not meant for the common man. It is meant for big organizations, corporations, and high net worth individuals. Again, I will not use Nigeria as an example in our discussions. Now, QE was something that was started in the year 1989 by the Japanese government. If you are a student of history, you remember the Hiroshima-Nagasaki War. After that, the Japanese community were plunged into good poverty. I call it good, because the good poverty made the Japanese government to think, how can we create money? Because evil banks could not do anything, the government could not do anything, so they had to allow the central banks to start creating money on their own. Now, they were the first country to do it, but it became very popular in the year 2008 during the world financial crisis. So the USA, through the Federal Reserve, used the same method before every other country now has started adopting the same thing. They use the same method by allowing their central bank to create money. When USA did it, if I'm not wrong, I think they created, I'm not sure, but please confirm, either they created $500 billion or $700 billion. So overnight, people woke up without money, and the following morning, they were $500 billion richer, just by somebody pushing button. Mr. Shuberu, you only had $1 million in your account, but as you wake up tomorrow, $10 million in your account. That was the case. 700 billion. And they used this money then to bail out Wall Street. When everything went bad. Now, somebody is thinking, what would happen that we make a government want to buy so we call it bailout. What would happen that we make the CBN want to bail you out? So let's say, for example, let's look at, I'm looking at a foreign company. Let's say, for example, Google. Now, if Google, for example, runs into big financial debt, it is easier for the country that is the CBN of the US to bail them out than to allow them fall. Because if a company like Google should fall, the amount of unemployment and ripple effect that would cause will be too much. So, rather than the government to allow that to happen, they would release funds. So they will create money and put into that company to bail them out. Now, when they do that, at times, they do that in the form of one, either they come to buy bonds or they buy shares so that they are able to own stocks in that company and they pump money into the company. Any questions so far? I know this one is We are not all economic students. Any question? Any question? None so far. Okay, so banks CBN also, okay, not CBN, just central banks. So CBN is for Nigeria. Every country have their their central bank. So central banks are able to create their own money, but this is supposed to be done only on special instances. Unfortunately, these special instances are now becoming too much. Take for instance, last year alone, the central banks created $3 trillion of QE. $3 trillion just because of COVID-19. Now, I know somebody is thinking, if they are creating this money, is that not good? I mean, it means that people are saved and all of that. Now, remember what we said at the beginning, that money is supposed to be an exchange for value. Now, if something that is not able to generate its own money, interpretation, if something that is not valuable is failing, and you are pumping money into it to try to resurrect it, it means that we have created a debt that that thing cannot on its own generate to pay back. And when that thing is not able to generate it to pay back, it means that the government would have to tax the people more to be able to get that money back, because that debt needs to be paid. This is the issue. The debt that needs to be paid was a digitally created debt, but the money that needs to be paid is real money. Think that makes any sense? The debt was created digitally, but the money that needs to be paid has to be real money. Reason, I cannot go and meet Mrs. Shuberu now and say, oh yeah, it is time to pay your tax, and she will just say, credit your account, I have paid. No, she would have to have done something of value that she is getting money for, that money is now used to service the debt. But when the QE was created, there was nothing of value created that I gave it to. It was just to bail out somebody, or bail out something, or help something, or push for a war, or satisfy a politician or something. I hope that makes sense. Any question?
Using this example you gave, the
Yeah.
first one about the US, where, using Google, where we said instead of Google to go down, the government will
Can step in.
step in. Now, when we are talking of this point of central bank, I thought we were exempting the government authority here.
Let me give it to you.
My voice is not loud enough.
I don't know. I'm not saying it's not loud, but just in case another person wants to ask.
So I said using the first example of Google, where we said the government steps in and ask for a monitor.
No, so it's not really the government that steps in, it's the CBN. That is the CBN that steps in. Because they are the ones that have the power to create QE. Government have the power to print cash, not QE. There was a time in Nigeria where they were saying recession was coming, and they said, no, don't worry, there is no recession and all of that. Take your time and go and read. The reason recession did not hit us then was because QE was created. If that makes sense. Now, when that QE was created, they were put into some major guys who have the power to generate money. But you see, the issue with that is what they are generating is not commensurate to the debt that was created. Because if what they are generating is commensurate to the debt that was created, there will be no need for the debt in the first place. Does that make any sense? I think I answered your question.
Yeah.
Money is awesome, I know. Any other question?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so this example you
Use Mike Lee. Use it, Samiyaki.
Okay, sir. So this example you gave now was before the Great Recession, or was it
Which one?
the one of the bailout?
The $700 billion bailout. And so before this, we were not central banks were not using QE. It existed in just few countries. The first country that started it was Japan. But when Japan used it, people saw that this thing worked, because as at the 70s, early 80s, Japan was an underdeveloped nation after their Nagasaki war. Like they were an underdeveloped nation. Nigeria was a developing nation. But with this QE that was rightly used as a tool, they moved from underdeveloped, today they are a developed nation. Does that make sense? But in 2008, during the Great Financial Recession, the US of A now realized if Japan used this thing as a tool and it works, we can also use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the case of Nigeria now, we are constantly.
Use another country. In the case of Benin Republic, that they are constantly ahead.
Okay, they are constantly falling into debt year in, year out.
Mm-hmm.
And Benin Republic people are getting money, like stolen money from outside the country that their big politicians kept there. And the monies are getting it and they are using it, they are saying they are using it to service other stores. Now, in that case, why do we need to print? And another question is, if we print, why can't we continue printing to solve our problem?
It was not around, I mean. So you cannot continue to print to solve our money problems. So let me first start with the first part of the question. The money that is returned is not cash, it's digital. That is why I said, anytime somebody sends you money, your money did not move. It is just a digital transfer of records. It's like Modupe Sholanke becoming Mrs. Modupe Shuberu. Her person did not change. It's just her records. So that by the time we now go and check her NIN, her bank details and all of that, the record has changed. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
When you do a transfer from me to you, no, from you to me, for example, theoretically it should mean that the money has left your account, so it's flying into my account. But in reality, what is happening in the bank is they just changed the record. You had 50 naira as balance. You sent something 20 naira. So what would they now do to the record? 50 minus 20, 30. I had 10 naira in my account. 10 plus 20, 30. Cash did not move. Does that make any sense? What simply changed is the record. It's not like I moved tomatoes from this store to that store and you carry the tomatoes. This one is just record we are changing. Does that make sense? Now, the second part of your question is, so why can't we keep printing? Now, for us to keep printing money, I said number one, it would result in politicians' issues. Because you see, politicians worldwide make a lot of promises. And you'll notice that majority of their promises can be solved with money. Now, if we keep printing and printing and printing, it means that politicians can promise everybody what is not realistic. We will send you all to the moon and print money to fulfill it. And what that would also mean is there will now be more wars. Because whose money, the money that is printed, who gets it is who is more powerful. Think about it. If I know that you can print as much money as I need, and myself and Ibrahim has to come to you for the money, it means that the person you give the money to as you are printing is who is much more powerful between both of us. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Number two, when there is so much money in circulation, the money will lose value. There will now be inflation. Because, so look at it from the perspective of, as you are here now, you are just sitting down chilling. Somebody just calls you like, you are so hardworking. Your hard work is hardworking. Take this 10 million naira. There are things you used to negotiate for, you will stop. In short, if you go outside after they give you that 10 million naira, bam, and you just come out and somebody's like, come and buy pure water, how much? 15 naira, you will not remember to price. You'll be like, 10 million, but now what that would simply mean is, because we said at the beginning that money is measured in value. Let me give an example. If for those of us, if you are somebody that is a bit maybe like 22, maybe 23, 24 years old, let me see, I'm looking for an example that would make sense. Of, you would remember the time, if you still remember the time before 1,000 naira note. Before we had 1,000 naira note, we had many things 5 naira could buy. Abi? When 1,000 naira note came, what happened? Things started leaving the level of 5 naira buying price gradually, because you see, there is a relationship between denomination and value. That is why you hear people, you have some countries where you hear there is a single note that is 1 million and 1 million something. Does that make any? I don't know if I've answered your question. Okay, so we are coming back to agri, because the idea is to throw everything to agriculture. That's what we are doing. This is about agri, not about money alone. Now, to understand everything I have tried to say is number one, CBN has money to not CBN. Central banks have the ability to create money, and they create money in the form of quantitative easing. This is number one. Number two, central bank, see, because they have the power to create money, a central bank cannot go bankrupt. No matter how bad the economy is, central banks cannot go bankrupt. Now, but remember, they can create money. I'm trying to balance. Why then are we against central banks giving out quantitative easing anyhow? Remember that when they give quantitative easing, it is a way to help an industry that is failing. Now, what that simply means is central banks, by doing quantitative easing, they are now having the business of owning real assets by providing fake money. Does that make any sense? Because remember that the money they created is digital, it's not real money. So they are using money that does not exist to own real assets that exist. And I'm sure we've always heard this statement that government should not be in the business of running businesses. So that in itself is a big issue. And when government starts putting money into stock exchange, this is the issue. Remember that naturally we use stock exchange to determine the health of an economy. Now, if you can imagine that the government have used a digital currency to provide money into your stock exchange to try to bail out some companies, it means that we are now having fake money in our stock exchange that makes our stock exchange look like we are healthy, but in reality we are poor. Does that make any sense? Ima, you want to ask a question? Ask.
Is it because of the QE they are?
Yes, because, so let me put it this way. Let's say